Live from New York, it's Cameron's favorite show. It's First Things First.
Right.
Today, we start with Just Blaze. That's the list of teams Dame wants to play for.
You're an idiot.
Blazers GM Joe Cronin saying, "We remain committed to building a winner around Dame." Okay, maybe you're right. Let's look to see where you're at currently compared to the current champions. Okay, a little bit of a hill to climb here, Brew. But are you surprised Dame didn't demand a trade?
No, I am not surprised. And here's what people have to understand. You have to have top-level reading between the lines of what Joe Cronin really said.
Oh.
What did he say?
Wow.
Did he say Dame didn't demand a trade? Did he say Dame didn't ask for a trade? No. All he said is we will continue to try to build around Dame. This is what I believe is going on. I believe nothing has changed from a week ago, from 2 weeks ago, where Damian Lillard is, what he's doing now is giving them more time. Okay.
So what?
You didn't make the deal with the third pick. Okay. I'm watching. I'm seeing. Are you going to make a deal? Like, that's what's going on. He is just giving them a little more time that I don't think they'll make a big deal, but he's giving them a little more time to do something. Are you going to package these young guys and not scoop,
waiting
but to try to get
for
another?
free agency to see if they can make
More
some
so
big
a
splash
deal.
or a big trade.
Because what they can't do much in free agency.
Well, that's
it have to
yeah.
be a big trade.
There's
So I
salary
think
cap
he is
and
giving them time, a little bit of time,
Wow.
to see if they do something.
Yeah.
And if they don't, I still think he'll be headed out of here.
Okay, oh, you still think? Well, that's
Yeah, I think he will end up being traded.
Brew's coming over to my side of the table.
Not necessarily
Not
Miami.
necessarily
That's your
Miami,
side. Yeah.
but I think it will be Miami. And I think that I'm not that surprised that Dame didn't specifically come in and say, you must trade me. I also don't think it should be relevant at this point. What is Joe Cronin's job? What is his
Make
job?
the Blazers better. I'm with you on that.
To give the Portland Trail Blazers the best chance at eventually becoming champions. It is very clear what to do in that scenario. It is to recognize, all right, so we have what we hope is one future superstar. When you draft a guy in top 3, you hope he's a future superstar.
Sure.
Another guy who we hope can become an all-star in Shaedon Sharpe. Another guy that a young guy we showed we
good,
believed
right.
in Anthony Simons. We have those young players. What is our best path forward? Well, we have a guy who's going to make an average of $53 million a year over the next 4 years, who's 33 years old. His value, does anybody think his value is going to be higher a year from now?
No,
2 years from
no.
now? Does anyone think the Blazers have any chance of competing for a championship a year from now? 2 years from now? No. So he has one job, which is to find the best possible deal for Dame, and with the caveat of if you want to do the best possible deal among destinations that Dame is okay with. I understand playing some deference to a superstar player. They wouldn't be the first team to do it. We've seen a lot of teams do that for guys who have put in the type of time and work that a team has done in Portland. I think that's what's happening here. And I think that right now they are paying lip service to the idea that, well, let's see what happens in free agency. Maybe we sign Jeremy Grant for next to nothing. And maybe somehow we create cap space out of thin air to bring in Draymond Green, which is not going to happen. But
even if it did, Draymond's not making
you
him a
look
contender.
perplexed, Wildes.
Well, who is this narrative for? Fans? The media? Other GM?
I don't think it's a farce. I think Dame is honestly saying, I'll wait a little longer to see if you do something.
But what is on the board?
Now, maybe it's a farce I won't say farce, but I don't know what Cronin is thinking. Because I agree with you. The smart move, and this was a smart move 2 weeks ago, was to trade Dame.
Yes.
All right? And get something that fits your timetable. But I don't think he's sitting there lying to Damian's face.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know if he's afraid he doesn't want to be the one to trade Damian Lillard or to say we're going to trade him. But I think Damian is honestly giving them a chance to do something. And I think they're giving him the impression that they might.
All right, can I ask you this then? When LeBron goes to Cleveland and they've got the number 1 pick, and LeBron said all the right things too, and then Andrew Wiggins was gone and Kevin Love was there, and it's pretty obvious we're going to try to contend for a championship. If you're Dame, The first piece of that puzzle has not happened. Like, actually, we're going to keep Scoot.
Because they're not going to do it.
Guess what? You're going to be 0, and he's going to be double 0. Like, what?
That was another weird thing. I didn't even know that was allowed, by the way.
Right.
What?
I mean, those are actually the same number from a mathematical perspective, as I know the audience
Triple
was
zero.
thinking.
That is
Right? Is that
bizarre.
what? I mean, you go on infinitely.
Odd.
But so here, I don't. Not only do I not think Dame is dumb, I think Dame is sharp, and I think Dame knows they can't. They can't build a champion here in the next week. Can we show? I want to show the Western Conference standings, not because the standings matter, but just so everyone can look at the 15 teams in the conference. Here's an honest question right now, Wildes. Mm-hmm. Which team there is further from a championship than the Portland Trail Blazers?
I mean,
I would say
depending on
none of them.
Şengün's ceiling, yeah.
I would say none of them. The Rockets
Probably
have,
the Rockets.
but they have.
Şengün.
But what the Rockets have is two number 2 picks,
players.
the number 4 pick, and a ton of cap space.
Yeah, and
What
a new coach who's ready to rock.
A new coach has been
They're
in the
not
finals.
ready to win.
That's fine. So at best,
But, yeah.
the Blazers are 14th because the Spurs have leapfrogged them, right? Because they have
Title
Wemby
five.
and the cap space. They still have
Absolutely.
Pop. We saw what Utah's building. Dallas still has Luka. Those teams that were in the play-in or better are all better positioned. And I'm just talking about for not just the long term, but for the right now.
Yeah.
You are not making up 14 spots in the race. It's like the horse you made me bet on in the Belmont. This guy was in last the whole time. It's just a disaster for me. You
I
did.
had a feeling.
You peer pressured me.
had a
You peer
feeling.
Brew. You weren't there. You
National
had
treasure.
remember Brew had other things to do, but
yeah,
we
you
were
should.
there gambling.
was fun.
But there's just let me put it to you like this: if someone came to you today and said, just a basketball fan, a friend of yours that you respected their opinion, like I'm gonna tell you this much right now. I think with a few tweaks in the next few days, the Blazers could win the West. Would you immediately be like, oh, I don't respect your basketball opinion anymore? You don't know what you're talking about. Do we think Damian Lillard has that basketball IQ? No.
Then what do you actually think is
I think
happening?
Dame knows he's going to be traded. And I think they
You think Cronin's just lying?
No, I think that right now they are playing the game of we're not going to say we're trading you until we have the trade, because I don't think they know exactly where he's going. Mm-hmm. I think they are trying to get the best deal possible from any of the possible destinations. I think the moment that Scoot Henderson was drafted and you didn't trade that pick for a veteran is the moment the decision was made, we need to turn the page.
I don't think they'll trade Scoot, but they could. I mean, that's still something they could do.
But that's
I don't think they will. No, I don't think they will, but it's something they could do.
But if that was going to happen, that would have already happened, don't you think? Don't you feel like that is
Likely.
more likely that would have already happened than happening in a week or two?
Yeah.
The LeBron thing was different because
Well, one, he was LeBron.
he was LeBron. Another one was he was coming to the team, which then made them change their path moving forward from what they had already set on. It's not like Dame is unretiring. It's like, oh, well, Dame's back. Let's trade the number 3 pick now. They knew that already.
Sam Amick reporting that Dame's dream scenario, and emphasis on the word dream, is for the Blazers to sign Draymond. Okay. I mean, he is a free agent, so maybe, and that would be a good start for a team that finished 28th in defensive efficiency. Echoing the GM's statement, any chance the Blazers just let's live in this world.
Right.
Any chance they can actually do it. Maybe it's Zion. There was rumors Paul George was.
Get anybody. Look, let's just start with Draymond. Even they're not getting him, he's staying in Golden State, I firmly believe.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they did, it wouldn't make that much of a difference. Draymond Green is perfect in Golden State. Okay, he wouldn't be perfect in Portland. I don't think Dame and Scoot aren't going to be running off screens like Steph and Clay. All right, and that allows Draymond to be the primary decision maker and ball handler. That wouldn't happen in Portland. So what's he going to be offensively in Portland? What would he do?
Right. No,
Not much. Okay, so that wouldn't work. I don't think there's any deal that makes them like a top favorite in the West or top contender in the West. But the one deal that would intrigue me, and this one they could have done obviously draft night, was if you did trade Scoot for Zion.
That's the only
That
one.
would be the deal.
That's the only one.
If I'm Dame, I look at that and I'm saying, okay, I'll give this a try, because this is a huge year for Zion. If he's ever going to be healthy, you would think he'd play 60-something games this year and be healthy for a playoff run. If that were to happen in Portland, again, not saying they'd win the West, but they would be a factor and they would be dangerous.
But you know what? Also, if we're going to trade for Zion, can you see if CJ wants to come back? Because we really worked well. And,
but Scoot, I mean, so I'm not so sure they shouldn't consider Scoot.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For Zion.
Well, but that's another thing that I believe if it was going to happen would have happened surrounding the draft. But that is why the answer to this question is no, they can't. Because the only reason that we think this is even a possibility is because Zion has found the Goldilocks zone of amazing upside, look like a league MVP candidate, plus totally diminished trade value because of the injuries and the lack of availability. In order to do this, you would have to find a way to bring in a guy who could, at his best, looks like one of the 10 best players in the league. We know who those people are. Aside from Zion, or I guess you could argue Ja, none of them are available under really any circumstances. They are not there for the taking. And Portland finds themselves in this case. They have no extra first-round picks coming in. They have one first-round pick going out. It's going to Chicago. And it's lottery protected for the next 5 years. Why does that matter? It means they can't trade a first-round pick until 2030 until that pick conveys. So in any trade, you can't trade any first-round picks. That's a problem. Who do they have under contract? You have Dame. You have Anthony Simons. You're trying to re-sign Jeremy Grant. You have Nurkic, Nasir Little, and the young guys. Again, let me tell you that top five again. Dame, Simons, Grant, Nurkic, Nasir Little, and the young guys. That is not in any – who's the best player in the league? Take out Giannis and Jokic. There is not a player you could just drop into this lineup other than Giannis and Jokic that would then say,
well, LeBron.
Add them. No.
Yeah,
you add LeBron to this team and add nothing else, they're not winning the title.
And say what, they're the favorite. I mean, Embiid would obviously put them in that discussion. But
you understand what I'm saying? Even if they had to give up nothing for it, and none of it's happening. So
they don't have it.
The Zion thing is interesting, but I think that ship sailed.
If they wanted to give up some of their young pieces, they could get a good player, but not a player that's going to make them the favorite in the West.
Just tear it down. We all agree.
Yeah.
It's not just tear it down, though. The problem, here's the frustrating thing for me if I were a Portland fan. You already have the pieces of a rebuild without having traded the superstar yet.
Yes.
You are actually oddly in a great position if you trade Dame because you got the number 3 pick, which usually comes once you trade the superstar. And you know what I mean? You already dealt with the first awful year while still having the asset of the great player. And now you could move the great player for assets and all of a sudden be really well positioned for a few years from now.
And we both think they will. And look, I believe the fans in Portland, obviously they loved having Dame there and love having him there. But you don't think they would be excited? They know they're not going anywhere with Dame. To watch Scoot and Shaden and Simons and whatever veteran role players they get that'll help develop these guys, professionals in the locker room. They don't need your boy Tyler Hero.
What about Jovic?
Just letting you know.
What about Jovic? I was telling you on Jovic.
I'm intrigued by Jovic.
I was telling you on Jovic.
I'm intrigued by Jovic.
What was your favorite Jovic moment?
I just like his name. I just like his name. That's all I know about the kid.
Finals.
He's 6'10".
That was to cover a spread,
and he looks like he can ball.
No one cares about that stuff.
Sports betting. That's not a popular
I'm just talking about.
I'm telling you, America, people that had the Heat plus 7.5 in that game, they remember Jovic throwing a swinging hook shot.
KD and Booker in the Bahamas. Next up.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.